And I'm Haley.
And this is My Favorite Mordor. For our longtime listeners, you may be a little confused by the new name, and that's okay. We hope that you will stick with us because this new venture is different, but we think you're really going to like it. So this is our big announcement. We have decided to make a pretty big change in the podcast, and we are jumping on the true crime train. And so Amy and I, this is Lori talking, Amy and I have been true crime fans for a while. We like all the podcasts and all that good stuff. Haley, not so much. And so this we thought would be a fun way to sort of bring Haley into the true crime fold and for us to honestly jump on the true crime train. I mean, that is where all the money is. Kevin cut that out. But honestly, if we ever want to make money off of this, we really just need to be talking about true crime. So for our inaugural episode, we are covering the very well-known story of an epic jewelry heist that is popularly referred to by the media as the Lord of the Rings. So I will give the background of what happened, and then we can just talk about the events that followed. So our primary source for researching the story is a 2001 film directed by Peter Jackson called The Fellowship of the Ring. This movie is not a documentary, but it's a fictionalization that holds pretty close to the actual events. So I guess it's basically like a docudrama, if that's the right word.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you. So the primary source for the film was a series of books that were written by crime reporter and former investigator JRR Tolkien in 1954. But the books are super long, and I think that Tolkien really gets into the minutia of what happened. So I think for our purposes, Jackson's docudrama really hits all the high points, so we're sticking with that. So, don't at us if we get something a little bit wrong because we didn't read all of Tolkien's books about this crime. So, basically, the events start in the Second Age of Middle-earth, and there's a man named Sauron who is the victim of the crime that we're going to discuss. And Sauron gave a bunch of rings away as gifts to his friends, the elves, but then the elves did not like them, and they weren't wearing them. And Sauron got mad about it, and he took a bunch of them back. And, I mean, he seems like kind of a baby, but, I'm not trying to blame him. He didn't deserve what happened to him next. But, he was kind of acting some kind of way. So he took the rings back, and then he gave them to some men and some dwarves. And then he also made a super fancy one for himself, which makes me think maybe he was just sentimental. He wanted to wear matching rings with his friends, like a fraternity or whatever, but it didn't work out. So.
Yeah, so that big ring that he wears, that's like the Infinity Gauntlet. No, not quite.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Sure, well,
it seemed very
yeah.
strong. It seemed like it was the most important one. Like, he wanted to, I don't know, never mind, that wasn't right.
So, but just generally, what's Sauron's deal?
I've been trying to figure that out for forever.
Yeah, and I'm guessing. So if anybody knows, I actually do invite a tweet about it. But I feel like he must have been a jeweler because he made his own ring in a forge, and I feel like your average person cannot do that. So
yeah, no, that's definitely fair. Yeah.
I feel like even having been a hobbyist jewelry lady, I did not know how to make rings of power in a forge. So I feel like he was a jeweler by trade.
Can we talk briefly? Does Sauron have a corporeal form?
Oh, for sure. I'm just about to get to what happens to his corporeal form. So, it's not super clear to me why, but a big group of men and elves go to Sauron's house, and they basically ambush him, and one of the men, named Isildur, cuts off Sauron's fingers so that he can steal the ring. So, yes, he has a corporeal form because he basically got his whole hand chopped off.
That's super rude.
I know. So it's even though Sauron seems like kind of a baby, kind of a jerk, it's he does not deserve to have his hand cut off. So he's the victim, and I feel bad for him, and he did not deserve that or to have his stuff stolen. So Isildur cuts the guy's hand off, but then he loses the ring. It's you did something so bad, and then you didn't even keep what you got. So he loses the ring, and it eventually gets picked up by a hobbit named Smeagol, who wears it for a while. And then he changes his name to Gollum to hide his identity so that he can conceal that he has the ring. Many, many years later, a hobbit named Bilbo Baggins finds the ring, and he just pockets it. So it's everybody who knows about this ring just steals it. So it's gotten stolen now a third time.
But how did Gollum lose the ring? I thought he loved it. It was his precious.
Well, it was his precious, but it's like, yeah. Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, I was just going to say that is a whole side story that investigative reporter JRR Tolkien wrote a separate series of books about. But basically, Gollum, he lives in a very dark cave and he lost it in the caves. He drops it.
I refuse to believe that he is fucking obsessed with this jewelry.
He is obsessed with it. You don't believe he's obsessed with it?
Well, if I was so obsessed with it, I wouldn't lose my ring. I'm just saying.
Well, I actually have read that like side series that Tolkien wrote and reported on, and it's been a really long time, so I don't super remember. But I mean, like, I guess Tolkien wasn't there, but that is how he tells
I believe Gollum was running from peril when it happened,
and he dropped it or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't
Bilbo
like he was
was
just
just
moseying and yeah.
Yeah, and Bilbo just like picks it up and he taunts Gollum about it before he leaves with it. He's like, "What have I got in my pocket?"
Oh, does he?
And then he doesn't.
Bilbo
he
seems a
doesn't
little bit like a
say.
dick.
Oh, totally. Look, nobody in this movie or nobody in this series of events looks good. So yeah, Bilbo just like sticks it in his pocket, goes off with it, has some adventures, and then goes and like retires back in his hobbit hole at Bag End. But so he doesn't even care that he's like stealing from Gollum. And I don't think that Bilbo knew that the ring had been stolen in the first place and that it was like a hot piece of property.
It's like a law school question.
Yeah, right. I know. Like, well, how many crimes did Bilbo commit when he took this? I don't know. But he just like carries the ring away, keeps it for a long time. And then eventually a wizard named Gandalf, who is Bilbo's friend, finds out about it and realizes that it belongs to Sauron, who's still looking for it. And he's afraid that Sauron's going to like put the beat down on everyone, which like, why shouldn't he? Because like literally everyone in Middle Earth has stolen his stuff. But Sauron tells Bilbo's nephew, Frodo, who frankly to me seems like a strange choice. He tells him that he needs to destroy the ring. And meanwhile, all this time, Sauron and the Nazgul are still searching for the stolen ring.
Bless you.
What are the Nazgul again?
Okay, so the Nazgul are basically like the police of Middle Earth. Their official title is, so it's the Royal Mordorian Mounted Police, which is, the short version of that is the RMMP, which apparently local people colloquially call them the Rump. So you could see why they would prefer to go by the Nazgul. So I don't know, like it didn't say on Wikipedia where Nazgul comes from, but it did mention that people call them RRMP Rump. So Nazgul it is, because I'm trying to be polite. Because they're just trying to do the right thing and get Sauron stuff back. So that's pretty much the backstory. And then the remainder of the film talks about Frodo, and he has a bunch of accomplices on the run with the ring as they're trying to evade the police. And that's like how everything starts. So this is like a very well-known story, and so I thought it'd be a great start to sort of bring Haley into this true crime culture. So I think like what we're mostly going to do is get Haley's feedback and talk to Haley about how she enjoyed it.
Because we are assuming she enjoyed it for sure.
Oh, yeah, I guess that was presumptuous of me.
So I, in 2001, watched this docudrama. I don't remember much. I don't remember hardly anything from it. I remember thoughts and feelings and a couple of things. I will say that on rewatching it, I will give this out of 10 rings. I give it like a 7. It's enjoyable.
Okay. That's more than I thought we would get. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
A very large chunk of why I do not like this movie becomes from a lot of the art direction, I've decided. I think the enjoyment of this film, 30% better would come from better haircuts from the entire cast. I especially don't like the way that hobbits all have curly mullet shag haircuts. I don't understand why that has to be universal. So
I feel like they were working with a limited budget, because a lot of times like docudramas go straight to TV. So probably they were not sinking a lot of money into like hair and makeup, is my guess. It's just my guess.
Yeah. My first hard-hitting question is, why didn't the dwarves join in the first battle against Sauron? There was an alliance between elves and men, but like dwarves were around. What were the dwarves doing?
So there's a whole nother offshoot of all this where Tolkien talks about like the history of all these people and why how their alliances come and go. And it's called the Silmarillion. So if you really want to get into it, that's where you're going to have to go.
No, I want a
but
short answer.
The short answer is dwarves only care about their own shit.
Well,
and dwarves also really dislike elves.
See, I found
the dwarves also had rings. They got rings and they kept their rings, and it made them super greedy because apparently like some people can't cope with having rings, and dwarves are among them.
That's what I thought. It makes me dislike dwarves even more. So thank you for that answer.
So I don't know that you should think too badly of dwarves. I mean, part of the problem here is that Sauron, Sauron gave these rings out as gifts, but he Sauron, from all stories I've heard, Sauron is a little bit manipulative.
Yeah, there were definitely strings attached to these.
So there are strings attached to these rings, and I think he knew that they were gonna kind of turn people, like people were gonna want more power. Like after you get power, you want more power kind of thing. Some people were able to withstand it, some people weren't. But Sauron intended for people to like go bad after they got these rings. And so ease up on the judgment on the dwarves and men, I think a little bit. They just were, they weren't ready. They weren't ready for it.
I just don't like the way dwarves look.
Well, they're short and hairy.
I'm not here for it. Okay. Second question. Was Sauron a human?
I don't see why not.
Because he looks like a monster in that opening scene. And I was like, well, why would you take his ring? That seems weird. So
why would you take his, what do you mean?
Like, so Sauron Sauron is a bad dude, right? I'm assuming.
Sauron is a bad dude.
Yeah, so then why would the elves take his ring?
Again, he's a victim here, so I think we should just be careful how we talk about him. Because he got his hand.
Well, he was the excuse that they gave was that, and Lori, how long ago did all this take place?
That's a good question. So it was hard to pin down. Tolkien started publishing his research on this in 1954. So my guess is that it was probably like the stuff the ring was originally stolen by Isildur 3,000 years ago. So I would say that this stuff probably blew up in the media, like with like the Fellowship and everything in like late 40s, early 50s, since Tolkien was writing in 1954 or publishing in 1954. So like about 3,000 years before 1954.
Okay. So Sauron, from what I understand, Sauron was never a human. He was always sort of a spirit, and there's a name for what they were, but he's never been a human being. So he did have corporeal form at one point, and he basically started marshaling a lot of power to kind of take over and rule everybody. And some people, like the folks who stole his ring, just weren't cool with that. Like that's basically, it was a little bit of a power struggle.
Yeah, I expect better from the elves to take Sauron's ring, but
I mean, fair. They're supposed to be all knowing and all seeing,
they're eternal,
yada yada yada. Yeah.
Well, They didn't use them. That's why they got the rings, and then they were like, they realized something was wrong, and they tried to hide them, and then Sauron took them back and gave them to the dwarves and the men. So the elves kind of smelled what he was cooking, and they said no thank you, and then that touched off all the ensuing drama.
All right, my next question is Gandalf part of the Fellowship, or is he just auditing the course?
he is a part of the Fellowship.
Okay.
I think he's, rather than auditing the course, I would refer to him as a lackadaisical adjunct professor of the course.
Second question.
But he is involved with the course.
Is Gandalf a human?
Gandalf is a wizard.
But is that a man?
No.
So are wizards a race?
Hold on.
They're like angels. He's a wizard of the Istari order, and they came to Middle-earth after the battle that ended the Second Age when Sauron's hand was chopped off. Mm-hmm. That began the Third Age of Middle-earth, and they came to Earth basically like Tolkien at one point said that Gandalf was like an angel incarnate. I mean, it makes angels seem a lot more fun than the ones that we think of in like our days.
the many-eyed.
Because I was going to say, like,
yeah, more like that.
Gandalf seems like almost like a god type figure. He seems very special and a little all knowing as well. So I was just
Yeah,
curious.
He is very special,
right.
and there's not that many of them. So like there's like only a handful of these wizard types, and the colors mean something. So Gandalf the Grey means something, in their order. And they're very old. Like they've been around a very, very long time. So
okay. Of this group of bandits that stole a ring, one goes by the name of Strider, we find out. Why is he in exile?
Amy, you want to take this one?
Yes. I'm trying to think of a brief way of putting this.
And also, why does he speak Elvish?
Because he is friends with the elves. That's the short version.
Can anyone be friends with elves? Because it seems like the elves are like the popular girls that won't let you sit with them.
I feel like elves are choosy.
Yeah.
So like anyone could be friends with the elves, but isn't,
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so basically how to even start this?
Well, so he's Isildur's heir, but he turns it down because he feels like he doesn't want to become power drunk.
Which is noble.
Right?
Oh, I remember now. Aragorn was actually raised by Elrond in Rivendell.
Was he about that? Was he like a ward, like baby Theon?
Yeah, so Aragorn's father was killed by orcs, and Aragorn, probably because Arathorn, his father, was all brave. The elves felt, I don't know, bad for him. I don't know. Aragorn was raised by Elrond. So Elrond's like his kind of like quasi dad, which means it's even more fun that Aragorn falls in love with Arwen, who's Elrond's actual daughter. It's sort of like a
I didn't know
sibling kind of thing.
Oh, that's why he's so mad. Also, Elrond is Mr. Smith from the Matrix movies.
Yes. So that's fun.
And Aragorn, I think, feels like he doesn't accept his role because he's worried he's going to be weak and do bad things, and so he goes kind of off into the land to, I don't know, be romantic and stuff. And so then but there are stewards of his city-state who are in charge, like historically in charge down there, and that's where our friend Boromir comes from.
I cannot. Oh.
Okay.
Go, Haley, go.
Okay, so when Boromir gets shot, here's what I said. Oh, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Poor Scene Bean.
Yeah.
So he was so stupid when they were in Rivendell, when they had their like little roundup in Rivendell before everybody rolled out. Mm-hmm. When they engaged in their racketeering and conspiracy,
Rico.
He goes up to that broken sword that's like on the pedestal, and he goes to pick it up. He cuts himself, and he's like, "Oh, a sword is sharp," and then drops it, and then just walks away. And I also thought to myself, like, "This is the master swordsman." He's like surprised that the sword is sharp, and Kevin goes, "More like Boromir."
Jabronimir.
But I just wanted to offer an analogy for Aragorn really quick. He's like Jon Snow. He's like how Jon Snow is like Targaryen. I don't know her. He's like, he doesn't say that he's a Targaryen because he doesn't want to be the king. That's kind of what Aragorn is doing.
Yeah,
no.
And they both look hot with dirty hair.
I dig him. He's nice. Oh,
but
nice. I need you all. I have spent 6 hours watching Hobbit movies this weekend, and if you look closely at Viggo Mortensen's teeth, they're all a quarter inch apart. It's very disconcerting.
Really?
Yes. Oh, goodness. I mean, I think he's a handsome man. He's got greasy long hair like everyone in this movie. But, oof, those teeth spaces.
Bean's hair is so gross in this movie. I was just like, can he get some dry shampoo? Because at least, like, the Hobbits, I guess it's because curls fare better, like, not being washed regularly than, like, lank straight hair, but
that's true.
The Hobbits are still looking like fluffy and good, and Scene Bean, Viggo looks hot, but Scene Bean is like, he needs some dry shampoo.
Yeah.
It's bad.
That reminds me of one of my very favorite lines in Gilmore Girls, which is when Lorelai says something about like women all sitting around wondering why they can't have a man like Aragorn. It's like, and it's so true. After this movie came out, we were all like, Aragorn.
I did actually.
Brave.
I watched this great video. Seth from Hugo's There posted it on Twitter like several months ago, and it's this video of a couple of like movie watching people on YouTube, and they're talking about Aragorn as an example of like healthy, self-defined masculinity, where like Aragorn can like cut down the Uruk-hai general with his sword and then also like protect his little friends and never hassles them about being little. And then like when Sean Bean dies, he weeps for him and kisses him. Yeah, and comforts him when he dies. And they were talking about like, they don't like the term toxic masculinity, which whatever, but they were saying like that limiting masculinity is a better description because it's like you're boxing yourself in. And Aragorn is a good example of like, no one would say that like, that man's not a manly man. And yet he's also like very in touch with his feelings and very gentle and only violent when it's necessary, you know?
Yeah, I dig him.
So he's a great character. And I appreciated that video because I really never thought about it. And then it made me enjoy this rewatching more. So even though he's a jewelry thief and a racketeer, he's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
My next comment is, so, all right, we have this group of thieves, the Fellowship of the Ring. It is very Hobbit heavy.
It is very Hobbit heavy.
It's like half Hobbits.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they were the ringleaders, if you will.
I would debate that because I feel like Merry and Poppins don't really bring a lot to this. I mean, whatever his name is, Pepper. I don't know.
His name is Pippin.
Whatever.
Peregrine, if you really want to be angry.
I mean, they're. I'm assuming they're the comic relief, and then. So, spoiler alert, I watched the second docudrama, and they spend the entire movie in a tree. So
they do spend the entire movie in a tree.
They spend the entire movie in the branches of an ant.
Yeah.
So Tolkien had a particular affinity for hobbits. He spent a lot of time writing about hobbits, and so that's why I think it's hobbit heavy.
Before he was a crime reporter, I think that he studied anthropology, and so hobbits were his area of focus.
Focus on hobbits.
What's funny, and that this probably didn't happen in the book, I imagine, but in the docudrama, sometimes the hobbits look like they're normal size, and sometimes they pan out and they're 3 feet tall. Oh, okay. So this is a good. I would like to critique a 2001 era film for its lack of technical ability. So there's beautiful, wide, cinematic, sweeping shots of the New Zealand countryside meant to stand in for Middle Earth. But then there's there's little cheesy little interludes that like, I don't know. There's just a couple of things. I can't think of specific examples, but like sometimes I'm like, oh, this movie's 20 years old, ain't it?
Oh, I thought the intro was the cheesiest thing I ever saw, where everyone's just like holding out their rings, and I was like, this is like a goth commercial for K Jewelers.
Yes. Everyone
just keeps opening their hand and looking very grim, and then there's like a close up of a gold band.
The part that I cannot watch is the part when Frodo. So Frodo, at one point, the police catch up to Frodo, and they almost get him. Basically, they stab him with their poison knife, and Frodo is a goner. But his friends secret him away, and he gets healed, and he wakes up. So there's a dramatic recreation of the moment that he wakes up with the elves and all of his friends, and everybody's hopping around and jumping on the bed and greeting everybody, and they're laughing into the middle distance, and I cannot take that scene. I can't take it. It's all Vaseline on the lens and cheerful giggling at nothing, and I just can't take it. It's supposed to be very moving, but it's not.
Every time you're in Elftown, it's like golden hour at sunset. It's very pretty.
It is. Every moment. Every moment is golden hour.
So this ties in both cinematically and plot-wise. So obviously, one of the things I hate most about hobbits is why they have big fucking hairy feet. But also, sometimes you can see the foot boots that they're wearing. Like, you can see the seam. Which leads me to a follow-up statement of, I'm pretty sure that when they're going through, it's not the Misty Mountains, is it the Snowy Mountains? They're just
the Misty Mountains.
They're like in some snow, but I'm pretty sure they would get frostbite. I'm just saying.
I said the same thing.
They have very hardy feet. I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure they would get frostbite.
I hope so.
But like, look at the weather in Hobbiton, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's like everything is green. True. There are lots of flowers. Like I don't know. And like the tops of their feet and the tops of their feet and their ankles Come on. It's too
Well,
and
they
they
were
weren't
being
even like dressed for it. They just
They
had
were
like a
being
cloak.
carried a lot. When they were in that mountain pass, they were being carried by people.
Yeah, that's true.
That's another
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, I like how they were like, where should we go over or should we go under? It's up to Frodo. And Frodo's like, get me the fuck out of this snow. I don't care how many demons are under. I need to get the fuck out of this snow.
I don't blame him.
My next point is more of an observation about my love life. I've decided that I would like a nice lesbian like Sam. He just seems like the best partner.
He is. He's a writer. He's the best writer guy in the history of anything.
He calls Frodo Mr. Frodo, like Peppermint Caddy calls Lucy. calls her sir.
Do you think that's like a sex thing between them? Like
no, in reality, Sam was actually Frodo's employee.
He was his gardener, yeah.
Yeah, he was employee.
But that's what I thought I remembered, but then I don't think they touched on it in the docudrama. They left that out. So then it just seemed weird that he called him Mr. So I was like, is this like a sex thing? I don't know.
What's funny is that so many of the quotes from this movie, watching this docudrama was kind of like watching a meme primary source, because like so many memes come from this docudrama that when I would see something like potato,
why shouldn't I keep it?
Yeah, like so many just like oh my god, this is a meme that is now part of like my vernacular. Or like,
why shouldn't I keep it is like a conversation I have with myself over every mason jar, every like plastic reusable takeout container. Why shouldn't I keep it? And who cares that I can't close my drawer full of these already? Yeah. Why shouldn't I keep it?
Scene Bean going, one does not simply like that one always sticks with me.
But like even like smaller ones, like when Sam is going all Forrest Gump about potatoes, and he's like, boil them and something and put them in a pot. I don't know. And I was like, I've heard this before, and it's from memes, my favorite thing. So I can't not like this movie because of that. So
okay, what next, Haley?
So they're going on. Okay, so also I think that a lot of this movie is just them running an ultra marathon. They're always fucking running. But so they decide to go into a place that Gandalf is like, I don't really want to go there. And he keeps saying, and they're like, no, but we got to go. And then finally, it's like, fine, let's go. And then apparently it's where the dwarves live. And when they get in there, Gimli gets really sad and a bunch of people are dead. But wouldn't Gimli know? Why is he sad?
It's where some of the dwarves live. Not all the dwarves live there.
So
Gimli's from a different place, and that's his cousin
gotcha.
that lives down there. So he's sad when he finds his cousin's tomb because his cousin was like king of those dwarves. But Gimli's from somewhere else.
Okay.
Also, his cousin was one of Bilbo's friends.
Yes, his cousin was. If you go back, if you read the original, the one of those offshoot about the hobbits, you'll read about how Bilbo met him. And
so is that what the other Hobbit docudramas are about? Just about, and who plays Bilbo Young? Because I'm curious about that.
The same. Have you
guy who plays Tim from The Office?
Yeah. Have you seen the British Office? Yeah.
Wait, British.
And he's Martin Freeman.
He's also more.
Yeah.
Watson and Sherlock.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, that's good for him.
So. The Hobbit trilogy is very dwarf heavy. There are a lot of dwarves that accompany Bilbo around, but they're kind of hot dwarves. So
their names rhyme, so you really wouldn't like it.
Yeah, you'd hate it.
Oh no! Tell me more. Oh, I hate it. Oh, what is it?
Okay, do you want me to read you all their names? Do you want to hear all their names?
Yes.
Okay, let me look them up real quick.
I feel like okay, so as an aside to all of this, and I'm having fun and I'm enjoying the backstory, I feel like Lord of the Rings I've given it short shrift. I will admit that. I will eat some crow in that sense. But it's also why I don't like Christianity or the Dave Matthews Band, because their followers have ruined it for me.
You know what? I can see that.
Yeah.
However, oh boy, can you say the same thing about Star Wars fans?
Yeah, sure.
I think any fandom at its most fanny is gonna be a little off-putting.
That's true. Like the fandom event horizon is just like turns into a big asshole.
Yes, the fandom event horizon.
I'm not even talking about the assholey things. Like it's the cutesiness that I don't like about Lord of the Rings.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, it's not necessarily people being mean. I mean, it's like
I think Star Wars probably has more toxic fans, but apart from Yoda, there's not a lot of really like sing-songy rhyme speech. So
are you ready? That's a good segue to the 12 dwarves.
It's the 12
dwarves of hobbits. Okay. All right.
I was about to say Chewbacca's wife is named Lobaka.
Oh, well, his nephew, not his wife.
Whatever. Thank you, Lori.
Amy, don't be gross. All right, ready?
Right.
Okay. Balin, Dwalin, Biffer, Gopher. Do you need a break?
Wait, so these are all different names, one per?
Yeah.
Ballin, spell Ballin.
Balin.
I thought that was Balin.
Yeah, that's Balin to me. But
Oh, really?
But either way, they rhyme. So Balin.
Yeah.
Okay, well then it's Balin, Dwalin.
Yeah.
It's almost worse.
Dwalin Jennings, the famous dwarf singer. Biffer, Bofer, Bomber, Dory, Nori, Ori, Feely, Keely, Oin, and Gloin. And either Oin or Gloin was the dead king that was the cousin of, what's his name? Oh God, I got all dwarfed up. Gimli. Yeah, Gimli's cousin.
I thought it was one of the bee ones that died.
Oh, I thought it was Oin or Gloin because I couldn't tell what he said.
Shut up. What? No, just stop. Let's stop. Oin or Gloin. Spell Oin. Is it O-I-N?
Lion.
Okay, so Gimli. Okay, so I think I texted y'all at one point. So I'm setting the scene of like, I can picture the nerdy guy in my head in 2001 that when the dwarf says, nobody houses the dwarf, that became his rallying cry for 5 years. Like, I can picture it in my head.
Nobody tosses a dwarf.
Is that dwarf?
I mean, you're right. It's Balin or Balin.
But then in the second one, he says "toss me," which is kind of sexual, but whatever.
Well, right, he's growing. That's his arc as a
dwarf
in these narratives. Yeah, he becomes comfortable with
trusting. Yeah,
I really.
It's just something that most of us have to ease into.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be with someone you trust.
I don't think that it's anybody's first step.
Well, and then
right.
And then Aragorn tosses him 10 feet. I swear to God.
Aragorn is very strong.
I will say in the second movie, which I watched on my own free will, just out of curiosity, and also they're free and streaming on HBO Max. I, as an exercise person now in my old age, it's funny because the dwarf is like, we're not meant for long distance because they're doing another ultra marathon in the second movie. And he's like, we're built for short bits of speed because he's a sprinter. That was cute.
Yeah, I still find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I can't see him being fast at anything. So, all right. So that's my dwarf question. Okay, next question. I would like to talk about orcs and how much I dislike them. Is orc short for something?
No. Orc is orc.
I was like, orc defer.
So the orcs get very little differentiation, but there is a slightly more badass version of an orc that you see Saruman creating in Isengard, which is where he lives. So at one point, did you note that the big ugly guy got birthed out of the mud?
Yeah, I was trying to eat dinner while that shit was happening, and I did not enjoy it.
It's nasty. It is nasty.
So how are they made? Is it like a golem? Like a Golem?
Oh, no. It is actually some sort of graft between orcs and humans.
I just think that Saruman, who I don't quite understand his motivations either, but we'll come to that later. He looks around, he's making an evil fucking army of these ugly ass creatures, and he's like, how does he not have that moment where he's like, am I the bad guy? Also, I would say there's probably 4 solid minutes of film of them tearing down trees. Is that just to show that they're making fire?
That becomes very important in the second movie, Haley.
I watched it. I don't get it. So
you remember when Pippin and Merry were riding around in that tree?
Yeah.
So there's a race of entities called Ents, E-N-T-S, Ents.
But these look like real trees, though, not Ents.
So some of them, there is a difference between trees and Ents.
Oh, I know.
But they all know each other.
But they all know each other. They're like friends. And so, I think some of the trees, quote unquote trees that they tore out were actually Ents.
But what are they using them for? Like, I don't care about the ants. Like,
just stoking fires.
Yeah. Okay. But like,
I mean, they're just
like 4 solid minutes of like them pulling down trees.
So the nice thing about this movie is that, like, whereas in your Game of Thrones, they tell you that people are bad by just having a bunch of like sexual abuse going on in the background. In this story, they tell us that Saruman and the orcs and the Uruk-hai are bad because they're just ripping down trees for no reason.
Now's a good time to switch to Saruman. So at the beginning of the movie, Gandalf is like, "Hey, Saruman, I've got this problem." And then, so they're friends at that point? Is he not dark? Or is he like the Emperor? He's kind of dark?
Gandalf doesn't know. So Saruman gets sucked into the power vacuum of, well, not the power vacuum. He gets sucked into the Sauron power grab, right? So he aligns himself with Sauron, but Gandalf doesn't know that he did that until, because Saruman is the leader of the wizards at this point. Which is, yeah. So Gandalf goes and talks to him to try and get direction and talk it out with his dude. And then he doesn't know that Saruman's bad until Saruman beats him up and sends him to the top of the house.
I like that he was in timeout. And then I like that Buckbeak comes and gives him a ride.
So true.
It's so funny. Like, as I was watching this, as somebody who loves Star Wars deeply and really likes Harry Potter, I was like, these are all just the same movie, just like mixed in a different cuisine or in a different font.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Like there's nothing that happens in Lord of the Rings that does not have an analog in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's true. But
well, I mean, because it's all based off of this like famous series of events. So I feel like, you know, it's kind of like how a lot of popular media is loosely based off of real things that happen. And this was like so high profile at the time that it happened that I feel like it sort of has trickled into or pervaded like lots of popular media. And I was thinking about like Arwen being the only woman that we see in the story, really, at least in this part of the story. And it reminded me of Julia Roberts in Ocean's 11. And so I actually feel like Ocean's 11 might loosely be based off of this as well.
I can see that. I was going to say Ocean's 8 as well, which is like a more female forward version of that. So
this reminds me a little bit of how Stockholm syndrome has sort of like proliferated out and kind of touched a lot of different kind of genres. It's the same kind of thing. Like this one crime has like repercussions in a lot of things that we see. Yeah.
It's just like part of our collective consciousness almost.
Yeah.
All right. My next question is, so Frodo apparently wears a magic underwear / chainmail. What is that about?
That is mithril, and it is elf-made armor or chainmail, basically. And it's like basically indestructible.
I didn't know, but he pulls apart his collar and people are like,
so it's very rare and you're not supposed to have it unless the elves really like you. And I think he actually got it from Bilbo.
He did,
Bilbo had it. Bilbo got it during his adventures and passed it on to Frodo.
He's been wearing that.
So nobody knew. Yeah, nobody knew he had it.
He's been wearing that magic underwear this whole time.
That's right.
That's nice.
He sure acted like he got stabbed. I thought that he was like a little bit over the top. I mean, I'm sure it really hurts to get hit by a troll with a club.
Yeah.
But like he full on acted like he was dead. I guess he got the wind knocked out of him.
Yeah.
Because it feels like, you know, even though through the mithril you can't be stabbed, certainly like your organs could be affected. So
I'm sure
I found that scene like a little bit confusing. I feel like probably there was some Hollywood editorializing and that's not really how it went down, but I don't know.
Dramatic tension. We needed some dramatic tension there.
This was like 1940 something. So, none of us were there.
So when he got stabbed by the Royal Mounted Police, he gets better thanks to the elves. Thank you, elves. And then somebody says something like he'll never really get better. So is he going to have a scar or is he going to be like sick forever? Or
the poison doesn't go away. Like he has to be on his like guard basically. I can't remember exactly how it manifests itself, but he always has a little bit of the darkness in him now, basically.
I mean, that's just like, that's PTSD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say, I think Gollum especially, who is probably 80% of the reason why I hate this movie. Not hate. Don't love this movie. I think this movie is fine, but Gollum is just so annoying. I don't like to look at him. I don't like his face. I don't like the way he talks.
You're not supposed to. He's supposed to be very off-putting.
I don't like it. But I also think Gollum is 100% just an addiction metaphor.
Okay. I see that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
no, I can see that.
Like, Frodo's like, this isn't his fault. He's sick. He both loves and hates the ring, but like, ooh, he's fucked up.
He is fucked up. I do really like that reading of it because most of them don't have compassion for him.
Yeah, I mean, like, nobody would choose to get obsessed with a piece of metal, but he did.
And go live in a cave, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with addiction. So
he started out as a hobbit.
Yeah. Well, so why,
he was just out chilling in a river with his friend, and the ring got him like instantly.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I imagine taking the ring for the first time is like the beginning of Train Spotting. They're like, "What's the best orgasm you had? Multiply it times 1,000." Like, who wouldn't want that? So
Exactly. And you see how hard it is for like Galadriel to fight off the impulse to take I mean, it's very hard to not take the ring, you know? So
yeah.
like,
So as a segue, I did not understand what the point of Carol in this movie was. So they go see her in the nice Ewok village, which I liked seeing. I like to revisit that place.
Kevin said it was the Ewok village too.
Yeah, because it is.
she's just tall.
Yeah, she's tall and like she doesn't give a lot of good advice. I don't get why they wouldn't have saw her. I mean, I like seeing her; she's beautiful. But what is her deal?
Yeah. I actually have a hard time remembering what the main thrust of that whole scene was in the book as well.
She
but
basically was like, Frodo, you got this, boy.
she can see into your heart.
Oh.
And she can see, so like
What
she's
is
reading
she?
their little minds.
She's a witch.
She's an elf.
But she's an elf witch, which when they said that, I got really excited.
Well,
because I like elves and witches.
I mean, it's like she is an elf, but witch is her job, you know? It's like, it's what you do, not what you are.
And Gimli, I think it's Gimli that says she's a witch, right? Because dwarves have a very deep-seated prejudice against elves, and so he's been taught that she's a witch, right, his whole life. But then when he gets there, he's like instantly in love with her, which I always found really funny.
Well, it's also funny that he says that like it's a bad thing. It's just a job.
Because let's be honest, being a witch is pretty dope.
I mean, there's a long history of men hating witches. So.
But I think most importantly, she gives them very important little gifts to take with them when they go.
Oh, does she?
Those things turn out to be important. And then she also houses them and keeps them safe for a while, which is also really important. And they sort of gather themselves and they get really strong there. And they actually spend quite a bit of time there in the story, you know, in reality, not in this movie, but in reality, they spent quite a bit of time there and gathered their strength and learned some things and got some supplies. And she was very good with the advice in reality. Yeah. In the movie, she got a little bit of a short shrift, but I mean, but she, and you know, she's like the oldest elf or something like that. She's a big deal.
She's the oldest elf. She looks great. I need her skincare regime.
She looks amazing. I
mean,
whatever.
Look so good.
I have a question, and this maybe is getting ahead of myself in the next movie. But so elves are immortal, right? But then at some point, they've got to go to a place to be immortal.
Okay, so the elves, they are immortal anyway, right? But they're not from here, right? So they don't die. Like they don't really die. What they do is they go west. That's the short version.
They go to LA. Okay, gotcha.
Basically, yeah. They go retire. They go retire in Palm Springs, and that's the elf story.
Okay.
So Arwen it's a big deal that Arwen chooses not to do that. She's going to live out a mortal life with Aragorn and die.
I would watch a 10 season series just about elves and elf stuff.
Listen, we all thought that, and then we read the Silmarillion, and we were all really upset.
Is the Silmarillion about elves?
It is a lot of elf.
It's about everything.
Well, I don't care about Elvish, and I really resent the fact that they speak a fake language in this movie. I don't care. I don't care.
I love it.
What do you love about it?
I don't know. It sounds cool.
Well, I like
the investment. I like the idea that like a whole language was made up and learned by people.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
I've always been into like Klingon is a language that exists and has like declensions and shit.
No.
Like I'm into it.
Well, I would at least appreciate it if they stayed in the language, but they go back and forth. So it's like, why?
Everybody bilingual code switches, ma'am.
Yes, accurate.
It doesn't mean I have to like
Some things are just better expressed in a particular language, and if you know both, why not swap back and forth? I just found out on Wikipedia that Galadriel is Elrond's mother-in-law.
What?
Yes, that's right. Galadriel is Arwen's grandmother or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Arwen is Aerosmith's daughter.
Yes.
And then who is Éowyn?
Oh, Éowyn is
that his other girlfriend?
Well, Éowyn likes him, so Éowyn is a shield maiden of Rohan.
Yeah. I know her. Yeah,
so she's pretty cool, and that's also that actress.
That's like dating like a Kate and a Katie.
Miranda Otto, is she Miranda?
That sounds
Otto?
right. That sounds right. Yeah,
she's cute.
From Sabrina, she's so funny as the aunt in Sabrina.
Yeah, I like her a lot. But I was just like, you got this shield maiden here, then you got this like elf that's going away. Maybe, I don't know.
She gets friend zoned real hard by Aragorn.
Well,
so
to be fair, she is not as hot as Aerosmith's daughter. So
I think she's a little bit cooler.
I don't know. This is like a hot elf princess lady. I don't know.
You wait till the third movie.
Yeah, so at the conclusion of these events, the conspiracy is all wrapped up.
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
She gets a moment. She gets her moment.
Let me guess, because I'm probably going to start the third movie tonight. Is the Return of the King, is that Aragorn?
Yes.
That's nice. Okay.
Aragorn,
whatever.
Do you know that when I was watching the movie, I had a moment watching the movie where I was like, oh, the Lord of the Rings is Sauron.
Oh, is that who it is?
I think so. Or alternative reading is the Lord of the Rings the One Ring because it's the boss of all of the other rings.
Is that like the Lord of the River Dance or whatever? Like, no, the Lord of the Rings is Sauron. 100%.
I feel like I should go get Kevin and consult him. I feel like we need a man because it's not
absolutely.
Called,
I'm down.
It's not called the Lady of the Rings.
No, only a man can speak to this. You're right.
Yeah. We're not competent for this part. But actually, I did ask him, and he was like, "Oh, good point. I don't know."
I've always assumed it was Sauron because he was the one that made them all.
I literally never thought about it. I was just like, "That's the name of it." And then when we were watching it, I was like, "Oh."
I was thinking about that last night too, and
who
I was not sure.
Who is the Lord of the Rings?
Is it just whoever's wearing it at the time?
Well, that's a good question too.
Okay, so my question about Sauron being incorporeal, I know that we have to make him corporeal for the story, but when he dies, is he just like Voldemort? He's like hanging out for a little bit and then he'll get a body? And also, what is that fire vagina?
Okay, yes, it's a little bit Voldemort-y. Okay. Like he needs to be corporeal to do some of the things he wants to do, but he's not corporeal, so it's a problem.
Okay.
The fire vagina is the lidless eye that sees all. And man, oh man, was that something that made me so mad when I saw these movies, because never in a million years did I think they would actually make a literal eye that just blazed on the top of
I thought it was so funny that they describe it as a lidless eye. Like, can you imagine if it did have lids?
Blinking at you?
It would hardly even be scary. I mean, it would be alarming, but it would definitely be less intimidating, I think.
Well, so it's already funny because it darts around like it's in REM sleep. I don't know.
Well, so what's the job of it?
It sees all, Haley. What more do you want?
What does it see?
Whatever it wants to.
I don't, because
specifically it sees hobbits carrying its ring around.
But I feel like the Nazgul are the ones that like go out and see and like can feel the ring. Like, what is this big eye on a tower doing? From
the eye isn't so much focused on the ring as much as it is focused on what's going on in Middle Earth, so so that Sauron can get power. Like, it's really his little magic way of spying on people.
Okay.
And there's different things that focus it, like those planeteers that are the little Plantiers, I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it's those balls that Sauron has that he can see stuff in.
Oh, his magic ball.
There's a couple of those, and he can like see stuff through those, and like there's a couple things like that like focus his attention. And the ring is one of them.
What is the name of the big horned bull that Gandalf fights at the end?
The Balrog.
Balrog. And he's just like a fire monster.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like a demon.
Yeah.
He's one of the interim bosses they have to fight.
Yep. When they're doing their ultra marathon through the mines.
Haley, did you get sad when Gandalf went down with the Balrog?
No, because I know that he comes back.
Oh, okay.
That's just it. Like,
it takes a lot of the emotional heft out of it.
To be fair,
when I read the books, I didn't know that. I was so upset.
Yeah. I also felt nothing when Boromir died, but we talked about that. So,
his character is more interesting in the books because you get a little bit more of his backstory and like what his motivation is. Like he's such a throwaway in the movies.
Yeah, in the movie, all I got is that he might steal the ring. So I was like, "Fuck this dude." So
yeah, like, and it has a little more heft if you read the book because it's like because he's the son of the steward of Gondor, basically, and so he's got a chip on his shoulder about several things. I think
he's got a hot brother.
Legitimately, he does have a hot brother.
Guess what his hot brother's name is?
It's something Boromat or something. I met him the night. The actor's hot? No way.
Yeah, I think his brother's hot.
Oh,
yeah, he definitely is.
I thought he was like B at best, but I'm gay. So
no, not Sean Bean, the guy who plays the brother.
Yeah, no, she's giving Faramir a B.
Yeah, no, I just finished the second movie tonight, like 20 minutes ago.
Oh.
I thought he was fine. I thought it was completely unremarkable.
I think he's hot.
It is funny. Everyone in this movie has a middle part. Now that I'm looking at him, I definitely thought he was hot back in the day, but now I'm looking at that middle part and I'm just like, ugh.
Oh, okay. I could see Amy liking this dude. I would not expect it from Lori. But
Faramir, he has such a
I
tragic little
seen
story.
him since I was like 19.
He's very girly.
I think he's cute.
I mean, he's not unattractive. He's just I did not notice him. He's a ginger to begin with, so.
Well, I remember thinking he was hot back in the day, but I used to like sloppy men.
No, he's not sloppy. He just looks like a he's kind of girly looking.
I mean, he is sloppy. I'm looking at him. He's got like grown out bangs in a middle part. He is sloppy.
Yeah.
He's a little bit like a poor man's Boromir, really.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Well, I think he looks better than Boromir. Boromir's got sort of a permanent sneer. Oh, Faramir is giving me like white Jesus vibes. That's what I'm seeing. Yeah. He looks like white Jesus.
Yeah.
I always thought Bean was cute.
You know, to be fair, and obviously I'm a biased speaker on the subject, but I cannot be attracted to any man with long hair. It just won't happen. So
that's my go-to aesthetic from my high school years.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Oof. No, none. I mean, I barely like women with long hair.
Kevin has pandemic long hair, so I've come full circle.
Oh, is it getting long in the back?
Oh my God, he has like little curls back there. You know how men get curly necks.
Is he growing a mullet?
I mean, kind of. The neighbor actually said something to him about it. One of my neighbors
was
start
wearing patchouli, and he's my high school boyfriend.
Yeah. No thanks. But yeah, all these hobbits with their shaggy, curly mullets. I think that's almost all of my questions. Yeah.
All right.
So what do you think? Oh, go ahead, Amy.
Nope. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what do you think? Are you on the true crime train?
Sure. I will dabble. Okay, so I can see why people love this docudrama, and I get the themes. They're resonant with many other things that I love. I don't like how dirty Middle Earth is. I don't like the overwhelming lack of women, which can be said the same for Star Wars, but I feel it in movies like this because they depict a time that's very similar to like our past. Like, I don't know, like in the medieval ages, there was just like a bunch of dudes. So
yeah. No, you're not wrong. I mean, there's like, it's not like you, I mean, that said though, there are some feminist favorite moments here. Sure. I mean, Arwen's kind of a badass. Oh, yeah. So that's nice.
All of the elf women, great. Love that.
So the women we do get are quality.
Yeah. I think it's just,
and it's not like a lot of boob talk situation.
No, not at all. And so I appreciate that. But I think why I love Star Wars more is because I want to be in all the Star Wars places, and I don't want to be in any of the places in Middle Earth. So
yeah, I would like to be in all the places that aren't dirty.
That's no place. That's maybe the elf land.
I'm okay with like
live in anywhere without climate control.
Like I'm okay with the actual nature dirt, but not like human, like people living very close to one another in each other's filth. That's the part I don't like.
Everyone looks very smelly, and there's a lot of really ugly creatures in this movie that I don't like to spend time with.
Like, it's very dangerous.
I don't like to look at orcs. I don't like to look at Gollum. I would hang out. What's the elf homeland?
Rivendell.
Well, there's several. There's Lothlorien is the
one you're
woods.
Thinking. Oh yeah. Well, you want to go to Lothlorien because you like Galadriel and all of her.
Yeah,
that's where Carol lives.
Handmaiden men.
Yeah, I would go to any place with elves, which I feel like. I don't know. That's probably classist of me, but like they just seem like they live nice.
They do.
I mean, if you were going to go on a vacation, yeah, go to Lothlorien.
Yeah. But
I mean, I think the dwarves live pretty good when they're doing well. It's lots of meat.
Yeah,
and
but that still sounds kind of gross. Don't you think it's just like a lot of turkey legs and getting drunk?
They don't have any windows either in their mines, so
yeah,
that's true. That's only skylights, and that's not good lighting for anyone.
Meanwhile,
the dwarves, it seems like an endless Ren fair.
Yes, and I want to go to the Ren fair for 6 hours, and then I want to leave.
But then you want to leave, yeah.
The Shire looks like a pleasant place to live. I mean
it does seem nice.
Very idyllic.
It's like pastoral England, which is fine. But then
which I love.
But then you have to live with hobbits, which I don't want to do. So
yeah, they seem like a small-minded people.
No, I just don't like them. I can't.
They snack all the time.
They do snack all the time. Gondor. When we get to Gondor seems like a nice city.
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh, how about I need to go to Rohan? They have so many horses.
Ooh, yes. Rohan.
Okay,
that's where poor man's Brad Pitt lives.
Lord,
yeah.
Why aren't there saddles in Middle Earth?
Well, there are, but Gandalf doesn't
There
need
are.
one.
No, I just saw. So when Aragorn got sick, and then his horse, this is a very touching scene. The horse comes and bends down and puts him on him. Basically, he's not wearing a saddle either. So,
Well, Aragorn Arwen had a saddle in the first movie, and the Rohirrim all use like saddles and horse armor and stuff. I mean, it just it's personal preference.
is it bad to ride a horse without a saddle?
No.
I feel like you very rarely see it in the West. I don't know, or like in movies. So.
Gandalf and Shadowfax are like one.
Yeah,
like he doesn't need a
magic.
saddle. Yeah.
Well, saddle. Wait. Let's back up. Saddles are for people. The horse could give a fuck.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought like it made it better for the horse or something.
I mean, maybe there's some weight distribution aspect to it. I don't know. I feel like saddles are for human stability.
That makes sense. Why do we think that the word fax is in so many science fiction things?
I have that question all the freaking time. Because there was a fax in Dragonfart. What was the name of that thing we read?
Dragonflight.
Thank you.
Dragonflight.
There was
also in Dracula.
Yes, there's a yes.
Carfax Abbey. That will always make me laugh. It's so funny.
So there must be some sort of linguistic universal imperative for like that phoneme to like mean something outrageous. I don't know.
Fax.
Facts.
I'm gonna name my next cat Fax.
Facts. But yeah, so I guess I'll watch that last movie. I don't like Frodo's eyes; they're too big. And I swear, in one scene, Gandalf is wearing a fake nose. He's got to be. It's so big.
Oh, I wondered that too.
It's
and then
so
I was
big.
combing through pictures of Ian McKellen to see, and I really couldn't tell.
It's funny because Ian McKellen is so like he's very gay. Like when you see him host SNL, he's so gay. But Gandalf is like asexual to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, that makes sense. He's an angel.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think,
That's true.
There's nobody here he wants to hook up with.
My
Can you
question
blame him?
is, what do you think Gandalf smells like?
Nothing, because he's an angel, so he probably doesn't get stinky.
I think he smells like tobacco.
I think he smells kind of good, like your nicest
Patchouli.
grandpa, like a nice grandpa.
Yeah.
A little patchouli.
Yeah, like
a little tobacco.
I wasn't meaning to impugn his smell. I just like I bet he smells like a nice grandpa, like butterscotch maybe. I don't know.
Werther's Originals.
Yeah, like a little bit of. At one point, him and Bilbo are smoking weed, and I know they mean tobacco, but what if they didn't?
No, they actually mean weed.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a mind alterer.
oh, really?
In the books.
Mm-hmm. You know that checks out for hobbits. My last Hobbit question: Are hobbits Gryffindors or Hufflepuffs?
Oh, I think they're
well,
Hufflepuffs.
I think they're Hufflepuffs unless they've got a Tookish streak, and then they're Gryffindors.
Yes. Although I would like hobbits are like anything, Haley. They're not any one thing. They're like people, and like people have different houses. So do hobbits.
I don't know. They seem pretty Hufflepuffy to me.
I mean, they're not the same.
I don't know.
Person.
They're actually like
racist.
Hufflepuffs are like loyal, nice friends, and like in the Hobbit series, we find out that like Bilbo it's unusual what he does. Like he's very much Team Bilbo.
Yeah.
Initially,
Bilbo's
he's looking out for
Slytherin.
Bilbo, looking out for second breakfast, and like they don't like people who rock the boat generally either.
That makes sense from a.
Which is why the ones with the Tookish streak are sort of a Hufflepuff Gryffindor combo.
Haley, do you know which Hobbit in the Fellowship of the Ring was the one that was a Took?
What are y'all saying? Took.
That's the last name. Took.
T-O-O-K. Or Took, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't remember how.
Mary?
Close.
Nope. Poppins.
Poppins.
So, Haley, I'm going to upset you. I'm going to tell you their full names.
Oh, no.
Are you ready? Okay.
God.
Pippin's real name is Peregrine Took.
That's okay.
And the really rough one that you're going to... just go ahead and forgive me. Mary's full name is Mariadoc Brandybuck.
Oh. Brandybuck.
Brandybuck.
Mm.
I always liked that. And they have a river called the Brandywine.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's nice.
Brandywine is a good tomato.
Yeah. Oh, hobbits.
Hobbitses. Excuse me.
Oh, no, stop it. There's something, it like, I don't know what happens to me when he talks like that, but I just don't like it. It's like
you're not supposed to like.
It's like I was beaten up by somebody who spoke like Gollum, and it's like affected me for the rest of my life. And I don't think that's happened, but oof, that's like a visceral reaction.
I mean, I will say that the guy who does that, who is like
Andy
the guy
Serkis, yeah.
Andy Serkis.
Yes, he's so good.
He also is Snoke in Star Wars, which is funny.
There is a video of him on one of the late night talk shows that I can't tell apart, reading Trump tweets in Gollum's voice. It is real good.
Do you guys remember him in Black Panther?
Who do you play in that?
He was one of the. Let me find his name.
Also, does Gollum speak in the royal we because he's also Smeagol?
I think that he's referring to himself and the ring.
Really?
I think he thinks of them as a pair.
Interesting.
Because he's always talking to the Precious, I think.
I assumed it was because he was two people, but also
maybe.
He changes his name, does he do that legally, Lori? Would you be able to facilitate his name change to Gollum?
I certainly could do that. But he doesn't call himself Gollum, though, Haley. Gollum is the noise that he's like. So everybody started calling him Gollum, but
oh no.
Yeah, I don't think
he doesn't really he doesn't have a name. Yeah, after he finishes being Smeagol 500 years ago or whatever, he just doesn't have a name, and then he makes that weird noise, and people start calling him Gollum.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Hey, I'm looking at sci-fi.stackexchange.com, and it says "we" refers to Gollum and the One Ring, not to Gollum and Smeagol.
Huh. That's good.
Oh my God! People also ask, what mental illness does Gollum have?
It's called addiction, and don't be crass. Poor Smeagol.
Andy Serkis played Ulysses Claw in Black Panther, so he's the guy that stole
just a human.
Huh? Yeah, he was just a dude. But he played this like kind of badass guy.
I don't remember him at all. So you have to.
He's like a villain, right?
He's the villain. Yeah,
he's in a lot of stuff. Like he's a really.
He works with Eric. He works with Killmonger, basically.
Oh, so he's a bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he's a good actor. Full stop.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
I guess that's it.
So Haley, you're on the true crime train then, right?
I see why people like it.
Well, guys, was this Star Wars or Lord of the Rings?
This was definitely Lord of the Rings, and now I will use that not as a derogatory expression.
Yay!
Unless it's got weird language.
This has been our inaugural episode of our new podcast, My Favorite Mordor.
My favorite Mordor.
April Fool!